So as we continue our little journey through the vineyards, back and forth from Bordeaux to the northern Rhone Valley, I'm talking now with Florent Caldier, and this is a particularly meaningful conversation because Florent is the right-hand man to Daniel Meunier, who is the owner of Chateau Haut-Ségottes in Saint-Émilion. And Haut-Ségottes is one of my very first suppliers. The very first vintage I bought from Daniel Meunier was the 1977 vintage. So here we are in 2018, and we have worked for 40 consecutive vintages, never missing a vintage. It's a remarkable history, one that is very rich, not in terms necessarily in profits or in talking about commerce, but rich in the evolution of a wonderful relationship. Because the beauty of this wonderful métier of wine merchanting are the relationships that develop amongst and between us, to know that that one can count on the quality of work that is done at Chateau Haut-Ségottes, and the rest of our growers here today gives us a remarkable degree of solace and comfort. And this is one of the most important things in developing our portfolio. So Florent arrived, vous êtes arrivé au Château Haut-Ségottes 2005?
Since 2006.
2006. So 2006. Otherwise, Daniel Meunier really ran the domain herself. And Daniel Meunier, very petite, but forceful and strong woman, right?
Yeah.
So you came in. How did you get to know Daniel?
So Daniel Meunier, she's a small, like you said, small and tiny woman, but with a big character, very good character, to represent very goodly the terroir and this family vineyards, because it's a big story of her family since 1850.
1850.
Yeah, 1850. 1850.
1850.
Yes.
1850.
Yeah, she represents
Right.
the fourth generation.
The fourth generation at Chateau Haut-Ségottes. So that is to say, about 175 years ago.
Yeah. And she success after her father in 1972. At this moment, she was the first wine grower in Saint-Émilion for ladies in the world of women, world of men. Sorry.
Right.
It was very strong at the beginning, but she found good friend around who accepts to try to give the best advice, yes, to produce wine representing for this type of terroir. And
the terroir of Saint-Émilion is a very interesting terroir because it's assez vast. It's a large appellation.
5,000
and so there is a lot of distinctly different terroir within the appellation of Saint-Émilion. And I think Haut-Ségottes is a very almost unique situation with the prevalence of I mean, there's a fairly large percentage of Cabernet Franc, which is not normal in Saint-Émilion generally.
We are very atypical style from Saint-Émilion because the 9 hectares of the winery were situated on the plate of Saint-Émilion, in the middle of some Grand Cru classés like Cheval Blanc,
Figeac, right. So you're on the Plateau de Corbin,
yes,
is what we say, which is to the north of the chateau.
Yes, in direction of Pomerol.
In the direction of Pomerol. And this very plateau is where the most fabled estates of the appellation are. Right.
And this type of soil, it's clay, limestone, but also with a second level of iron gravel. And this quality of gravel, it's very nice for the Cabernet. That's why on this vineyard we have 60% of Merlot and 40% of Cabernet Franc. This 40% of Cabernet Franc is the signature of our wine.
Right, which gives it the backbone and structure and gives it its durability, effectively.
Yes.
So my history with Danielle is that I began in the late 70s, early 80s to buy her wine, buying the 1977 vintage to begin with. And during that time, she was married to a gentleman by the name of André, Monsieur André, and Monsieur and Madame André at that time, Danielle and her husband, they had no children.
No.
Right. And then they got divorced.
Yeah.
I don't remember what year that was, but it happened at a certain period of time. Danielle went through a difficult period, I know, but because she is the type of person that she is, she not only survived that little family difficulty, but she prospered. She really flourished afterwards. But still in all, she's alone, effectively. And certainly without you coming on board, it would have been more and more difficult, although she has had her team with her for many, many, many years. The people who work the vineyards, the people who work in the Shea, correct? So she's at a point now where she is in her 70s.
Yeah,
right?
more than 70.
Yeah, deeply into the 70s. And so what is the plan for this extraordinary estate of 9 hectares that sits in this prime part of Saint-Émilion, and there is no obvious succession? Because I remember also during that period of time when I've been working, these 40 years I've been working with her, that she had tried to tempt her 2 nephews to come and work with her. And I'm not so sure it was the 2 nephews who were reluctant to work with her, or just because of the force of her personality, she made it impossible for them to work for her. I'm not quite sure which was the case, but certainly that was a failed effort. And so she's been pretty much on her own ever since. So what do you think is going to happen?
After this hard situation in 2002, after the divorce, she stopped to vinificate, and she decided to create a small and new team with Cyril from the vineyard, David for cellar, and after me for the relation, for customer, or different things. And now this team of 3, for her, it's the solution to continue to develop the image of Haut-Ségottes. And like that, she spends good time.
But she clearly wants Chateau Haut-Ségottes to remain Chateau Haut-Ségottes. She wants her family mark to continue to persist, because I know that during that period of time, she was solicited by several people in the area and outside the area to buy the domain. And every time there was a deal in front of her, she turned away from it, because she couldn't bear the idea that somehow Haut-Ségottes would be swallowed up by another chateau. So she is so dedicated. I mean, this is the 4th generation. She wants Haut-Ségottes to continue to live as a single estate, which I think is rather remarkable, because easily for somebody of her age, she could have sold that domain for a good deal of money. She could be retired somewhere. She has no interest in doing that.
Like a lot of in France, in different winery, in Saint-Émilion we have the big passion for the big brands, big chateau, and she refused that 2 times. Because for her it's impossible to lose this brand, because this brand Haut-Ségottes, it's not only a name, but it's a big story of family vineyards also. So that's why she refused at the last time. But
and knowing Danielle Meunier, she will win the point. She will win the point eventually. But we sit here today with a big point d'interrogation.
Actually, yeah.
For the future.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
A big question mark.
A big question, yes. Big question, but we try to find a solution to continue this story, and also this aim for her to continue to produce on this brand, because for her every vintage it's a new children and a new child. Sorry, that's why for her it's impossible to stop to stop.
Which is
this
wonderful.
position.
Thank goodness, because I don't want her to stop either. We have this very, very long history, so we're looking at the next decade for sure. So we're going to continue that thanks to you. Thank you, Florent.
Thank you. Thank you.